Good evening. Slow Life Pipes here. Not smoking a pipe because I am at present in the cafeteria seating area of my favorite hospital. So, it's not a good idea to smoke in hospitals, even though nothing would please me more right now than to have my pipe lit, thinking about the things of my life right now. I was watching Defiant Pipes videos. He always has interesting things to say. I enjoy watching. His fishing video recently was enjoyable to me. Thanks for making that. Caught your giveaway video. Decided still got a couple days. I'll make a VR to Defiant Pipes for his 3 pieces of sage advice, fatherly sage advice giveaway. I am a father. I have 3 children, 3 boys. Sorry, I'm a little distracted by the lady vacuuming the carpet. She's great. She's interesting to watch her methodologies, but this is where I'm hanging out right now. It's good times. My son is up sleeping in a patient bed, and I'm staying with him, so I'll talk more about that in another video. I don't want you all to witness me weeping on YouTube just yet, so I'll get to it and give you my my 3 pieces of sage advice, fatherly advice. I'm going to remain untheological because I know it will just irritate some of you. But I am a pastor, and I believe very firmly that what you believe about life, about the world, what we would call your worldview, dictates how you behave and how you act. And so, for this, I'm gonna, despite my better apologetic instincts, bypass my theological presuppositions and just give some practical things about life. Since Defiant talked about his father being a preacher, and that he's received an abundance of that. So, they go like this. Number 1, first thing, learn how to read. Now, I don't mean be literate, right? I don't really think that's a problem where we live. So, whoever's watching a YouTube video about sage advice from people years later is probably not going to have issues with being illiterate. What I mean is what properly we would call the discipline of critical reading. This is what I mean when I say learn how to read. It's what you learn. It's what we ought to learn in a high school English course, but it's what I didn't learn until a college English class. And I went to an accredited Bible college, and I could have read my way through all of the theology that I learned there. I could have done that on my own and not paid a bunch of money for it. However, the English class that I took at a small Christian Bible college is the most indispensable course that I took there. Learn how to read. Learn how to see an argument on a page and follow ideas. Learn how to pick up, most importantly, textual cues. When someone in a book you're reading, I don't care if it's a novel or the Bible or a New Yorker article, when you're reading through it and someone presents an idea, they have these words that cue you in to put things together. Words like because, words like therefore, words like so that, words like but, however. Learn how to use those words and put the ideas together, because that's what those words are doing. I would apply that especially in your reading of the Bible. Learn how to read. Now, whatever the resource is in your day for learning how to do that, take advantage of it. Today, I think the gold standard is pretty much a book, one of the most best-selling books in the world. You can get it on Amazon for like $8. It's called How to Read a Book. Pick up a copy, read the book called How to Read a Book, and learn how to do that. It will serve you enormously, especially today in the social media age where we have so much that's in print on the internet, where we're arguing with each other back and forth, but nobody knows how to read. So we're not really hearing what the other person is typing, understanding what they're typing. We're just glancing through and then picking out things we don't like and then using those to argue against people. It's dumb. It's dumb. We don't know how to read. Learn how to read. Take the college course, read how to read a book, ask people who exemplify good understanding and good comprehension to help you. It'll be worth it for your whole life. 2, the second thing would be this. Learn how to listen. Learn how to listen. Okay? This is something I had to learn in my adulthood when I realized I was a terrible listener. And I wasn't a good talker and a bad listener. I was a bad listener and an obnoxious talker, an obnoxious speaker. So learn how to listen. Now, the best way that I can give you to do this is with this simple rule. When you're in conversation with people, stop thinking about what statement you want to make next. Think about a question that you want to ask next about what the other person said, what they said. This could be an argument. If it's debate or argument, that's fine. Argument's healthy and good when you have people that know how to understand each other and then sort of critique each other's ideas. That's a healthy thing. When we don't, it's problematic. And we end up just insulting everyone. So, ask questions. Ask questions. This is good for a couple reasons. 1, it helps you understand better. 2, it tells the other person that you're talking to. That's the thing that lets them know that you are listening, that you're following what they're saying. So when they say something and you say, "Well, how does that work with this?" and you want more information about something that they didn't say all the way, they're knowing, "Oh, he's following what I'm saying. She's following what I'm saying, and she wants more clarification, or he wants to know more about this part that I haven't mentioned yet." And that's exciting for people you're having good conversation with, that someone's listening, especially if it's a topic they know more than you about. The other is that it's how you learn. You will gain a better understanding by asking questions than you will making more statements to pretend like you know something about it or argue against it without understanding it. You'll learn a lot more, and you'll walk away with a better understanding of something you didn't know very well. So learning how to listen is far more important than learning how to speak and how to talk and how to tell people your own ideas. Not as many people are lined up to hear the things that pour out of your head as you think that there is. Guilty of that personally. If you're in argumentation, that's when you're having good conversation with people. If you're in an argument, and years later from now, we can see it now, but years later, people beyond my generation, beyond the millennial generation, will look back at my generation and see how all we did was talk past each other and talk over each other and say nothing important and learn nothing at all from one another. Argumentation is good and it's healthy, but good argumentation, if you want to debate with someone and argue with someone, good arguments begin with good listening. Here's why. They begin by understanding what you're talking about. If you don't like something, if there's something that you just can't stand, if it's political, religious, philosophical, financial, or economic, whatever, social, whatever it is, if there's something you don't like, your arguments about it or against it need to begin with understanding it. One of the best ways to do that is talk to people who affirm those things. Talk to people who adhere to those ideas that you don't like and that you can't stand, and because you probably just don't understand them. Now, it's not to say you're just going to jump and then, now I affirm those things because I didn't understand them. You might still very much vehemently disagree with them and not like them at all, and have very good arguments against them, but you will have informed arguments predicated on your full understanding, an honest representation of your opposition before you begin. If you can't represent accurately, if you can't honestly give a fair representation of your opponent and his view before you critique it, you're not doing anything productive at all for either of you. Learn how to listen to those people by asking more questions. That's the key to very much. Ask more questions, close more mouths. So I'll give us those things. Learning how to read, learning how to listen, and understand. The third thing is this. Those things apply to adults, but by the time that you're an adult, there's a generation of children at your heels. If it's your kids, somebody else's kids, doesn't matter. But this part's really simple. With little kids, so I have a generation that seems to demand to be validated about everything. We just want to be validated. Everything we do, we have to feel validated and valued and important and special and fine. And we just kind of demand validation by people telling us that whatever stupidity we're engaged in is okay because it's ours and it's for us. Little kids, they don't demand to be validated. But when you validate them, it changes the dynamic of relationships with little children. So here's a super easy way. You don't have to get all deep in all these psychoparenting ideas. Here's all you do. When a little kid tells you a story about what he did or what she did this weekend, you go to church or you're dropping your kids off at school or at a friend's house or a play date or at the park or whatever, and a kid walks up and says they're excitedly telling you about their trip to the pumpkin patch or riding their bike or their sister, throwing up off the top bunk, whatever it is, they'll be excited about it. And then they tell you their part in it and what their role was. Here's all you do. You say, yes, and you give them a high five. It sounds like a joke, but it's not. High-fiving little kids after they tell you about something that they did changes their world. It's really important. It opens up the way that they interact with adults. It does exactly what my second point was talking about. It lets them feel heard and understood. There's this big grown-up person that has all this stuff that's out in the world, and they have this little tiny little kid world, this sphere of existence. And there's this adult, this person, this grown-up has condescended this big scary world to listen to them and to hear their story about their sister throwing up off the top bunk. It means a lot. It means a lot. It helps them have good conversation skills. Helps them learn how to communicate things. When you're doing that point number 2, when you're asking those questions and following up, and they get to the end of that story and you're like, good job, give me a high five. Not good job at everything, okay? It's not like golden trophies for everything. Sometimes we lose and we gotta talk about hard things with kids. What I'm saying is when they tell you about something that you can see in their face that they think was awesome, give them a high five. It'll just let them know, I see how awesome you think that was, and I heard you, and I think it's awesome too. I do it with a lot of little kids. I just give them a high five. They finish telling me some story about the weirdest things. Little kids tell the weirdest stories about stuff that they did. They'll just walk up to you and tell you about the weirdest things, totally randomly. When they're done, they manage to communicate a whole narrative to you about something in their life. They deserve a high five. Just give them a high five and tell them how awesome that is. That's what I got for you. Learn how to read. Learn how to listen. High five little kids. Until next time, grace, peace, and pipes.